Wow, it's been so long since I've sat down to make a video and actually talk directly to you guys. I have been active on my other platforms, not really TikTok, but I've been active on Instagram. So if you're not following me over there, that's where I've been. But even there, like, still kind of scarce, to be honest. I know on here I haven't posted in a long time. And I thought while I was sitting here getting ready to do my makeup to go out, that I would just jump on camera and do a little bit of an update, because a lot has happened and I'm really feeling like I'm starting to be ready to get back to actually creating content. And I think like an update video would be a really good way to kind of ease into that. There's a lot on my list of things that I want to talk about. And a good amount of that explains where I've been and why I haven't been creating content. But I am, as always, running late. So let's just go ahead and get right into the update, starting with one of the bigger elephants in the room. If you pay attention to my name, I have changed my name. Well, technically not changed my name, because that is my name, well, my maiden name, and I decided to drop the San Diego. I'm gonna be doing my makeup while I talk, so I'm not gonna be like telling you everything that I'm doing. I'll just like kind of do like let you see what it is and then go about my business. But I know there's a lot of people who did like the Karen San Diego name. Some of you understood what it meant, and I felt like, you know, I was kind of aging myself with that, because a lot of people had never even heard of the show Carmen San Diego, which is where I took inspiration from my name. It actually, I think I mentioned this before, but it actually came from, I don't even remember who it was, but it was somebody in college who was just like, I don't ever see you. Like, I don't know where you are. I don't know what you're doing. Like, you're so random. And then called me Karen San Diego as like a joke on Carmen San Diego. And then it just kind of stuck. But that's been like a name that I've been using on all my social media platforms since I was like 18 years old. And I'm 33. So I just felt like that name was tied to a version of myself that I don't believe that I am anymore. And that may sound like corny and cliche, but to me, I have just not been feeling attached to that name in a long time. And then there's also the fact that a lot of people are young and have never seen Carmen San Diego and assume that I'm from San Diego. So then it gets confusing. Even for like partnerships, like people think I live in San Diego, and I do not live in San Diego. I live in New Jersey. Then also just like me feeling like I needed a little bit of a rebrand. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the reasons why I feel like I need a rebrand later on. But I just felt like it was time to just like step into like a new grown woman era of myself and just use my name. Like, no catchy phrases, no nicknames, no nothing, like just my name, the Karen Wade. Like, that's my name. And that just feels more aligned with who I am as a person now. So it just kind of felt right, you know? Other than that, there's like no big thing to why I changed my name, other than me feeling like I needed a rebrand, me wanting to feel connected to the name that I was putting out there in association with myself, and the fact that Karen San Diego came about so long ago that I feel like, you know, I grew up and I want my social presence to reflect who I actually am. No gimmicks, just me. That being said, there are some other things that go into my feeling of wanting to rebrand online. And I think a big part of that goes into what made me not stop creating content, but what made me feel like I needed a break in the first place. And the thing that made me feel like, okay, I need to just like take a step back and recollect and focus on myself and my own mental health is just like the thing about the fact that I made my presence online directly correlating to my body. I love the platform that I've built. I love the people who actually support me. But the thing about putting a piece of content on the internet is sometimes it gets to people who don't actually support you, or people who may in their mind think they actually support you. But in reality, like, they see you as just like this fake thing on the internet that isn't a human. So people feel really comfortable saying things and asking things that they would not ask you in real life. And the longer, it's been over 2 years now since I got the surgery. So I'm at the place where like I got surgery a while ago now. So I've been documenting literally from day one. Like I vlogged in the hospital. The further out I get, the less connected to the actual surgery I feel. Because if any of you have gotten this surgery, you know, like at first, oh shoot, I should have did my eyebrows first. At first, you definitely, like, you remember that you are a bariatric patient, and it's something that comes up in every single part of your day. Whereas now, it's not as big of a part of my life, but people still have questions. So that means, so to back up, right before I took the break, it was, I believe, me and Chad's anniversary. To show you how long it's been since I've been like consistent, because that was back in August. I took a picture on our anniversary when we were out, and I felt pretty good about the way that I looked. I loved my outfit. I felt like everything was cute. But after I posted the picture, I got a lot of, not comments, but a lot of DMs. And when I say a lot, I mean like double digits. Right? Like I can't count on my hands, like a lot of DMs asking me about, like, pointing out the fact that I had gained some weight and asking me like, you know, like what happened? Why did you gain weight? Or just pointing out that I gained weight. And I think I had did a video where I mentioned this, or I don't know if it was on here or if it was on TikTok or whatever, but just pointing out that I had gained weight. One of those DMs, and I mentioned this one a lot because it was the one that like stuck in my mind the hardest, was one person was just like, I see that you've gained weight. What can I do so that I won't be like you? Was basically like that comment. And I know someone's going to say it. I know someone's going to say like, girl, like you create content, you have to have thick skin. Like you can't like let that bother you. It can bother you to an extent. But when it's about something that like I know I gained weight, and I'm going to get into the reasons for that in a second. I'm aware of it, but on that day, I was just celebrating my anniversary. Like I was just a girl celebrating her anniversary who felt good about herself. And to have all of these people just pointing out a flaw, and I'm going to call it a flaw in air quotes, because I don't necessarily think gaining weight is a flaw, but pointing out what they perceive to be a flaw on someone who is just simply posting a picture on their anniversary. And it just, I didn't directly stop, like take my pause on creating content at that point. But what that point did was kind of like give me anxiety a little bit in my brain and make me feel like if I'm to post more pictures or more videos or anything, am I gonna have to deal with these type of comments every single time I post while still in my current body? Because I did gain weight, like, and not a little bit either, like a good amount of weight. I don't get on the scale often just because for me, that's not good for my mental health. But I gained, I want to say at least like 15 pounds, which, because I'm short, is more noticeable than that might be on somebody else. But I wasn't like necessarily like upset about it. Like I still feel like I look good. I still feel confident in myself. I would like to get back down, maybe not all the way down to where I was, but I would like to lose maybe like 10 pounds and tone up a little bit again. But I'm not necessarily so focused on it, but it does get frustrating when you are dealing with having to listen to people criticize your body when you didn't ask for it. Like it's one thing when it's like a weight loss related vlog, but when it's a picture of me celebrating my anniversary and you're messaging me to tell me that I've gained weight and asking how to not be like me, like that messed with my head. So after that, every single time I went to go create a piece of content, and this is really like this is like in my head, right? But every single time after that, I went to go put up something, whether it was a picture or a video, my brain was automatically like, oh, the weight gain is obvious in this photo. If you post it, you're going to get those DMs again. And it was literally giving me anxiety to the point where I have drafts of content that I just never posted. Some of it I've completely deleted just because like I'm like, I don't want to deal with people attacking me. Not necessarily attacking me, but I don't want to deal with being messaged about my body. And then this was the point where I went to TikTok and I was kind of venting about feeling like that, like feeling like people are weird for feeling like they need to DM me and tell me about my own body. And I had people responding to me telling me that I don't get to complain about that because I create content online, I have to allow people to criticize my body and to critique my body. Which I don't think is true. Like, I think like if I welcome it, like if I'm making a piece of content about weight loss and opening the floor to questions, sure. But I don't see the point in messaging someone to point out weight gain. Like, to me, that's still weird. But people, it was like a 50-50 split with some people saying like, well, you create content about it, so you opened up people to talk about it. And then the other side of it being like, girl, like you don't have to, people absolutely do not have the right to criticize your body. Like, asking questions about their journeys is one thing, but when you're criticizing someone else's body, that's just rude. But the discourse around it itself made me just feel like I just need to pause for a second and just not do anything right now. Not necessarily because of the reaction from people, but mostly just because of the way the way that conversation was making me feel. I felt like in that moment I needed to take a pause and focus on my mental health. And I knew at that point posting was not going to help me. Like, I needed to really just take some time to regroup. And I think anybody that creates content, it's good sometimes to take a break from it. Because I don't think the human brain was meant to handle the level of criticism that you get when you put your life online. So I think it is healthy every now and again to just take a break and allow yourself to just regroup mentally. So that's what I was doing at that point. I realized at that point that I also didn't get a lot of updates as far as my arm lift, being that I had got my arm lift right up before that. My arm lift was also part of what caused the weight gain in the first place, which I think people also don't realize. When you get plastic surgery, that it's very common to gain weight during that time for multiple reasons. For reason one is inflammation, right? So in some cases, some of what you're experiencing as weight gain is just your body being inflamed, right? Also, you're not working out. And not just working out, because you don't need to work out to lose weight, but you're not moving. Like, while I was recovering from my arm lift, I pretty much spent my time on the couch sitting. Like, I wasn't going for walks. And I could have, and I should have. And if you're planning on getting an arm lift or any plastic surgery, the moment you're cleared to like start walking, absolutely do it. I didn't do it. I just focused on recovering and was not focused on exercise at all, which causes weight gain. On top of that, which is, like I said, very, very common for that to happen. You're eating your normal sizes because your hunger isn't impacted by an arm lift, while simultaneously not moving. So eat, don't move, weight gain. Like, that's just how that happens. And I was not shocked when I saw that I had gained weight. I thought it was normal, so I wasn't stressing about it until people started pointing it out. Also with the arm lift though, fun fact about an arm lift, not so fun, just fact about an arm lift, is it takes about a year for the scar, for the arm lift to actually heal. So within the first year after getting an arm lift, your arms are swollen. They're still going to be swollen. The swelling goes down, but not completely until a year out, right? On top of the fact that your arms are still kind of swollen after the arm lift, you also, the scars, they're going to be dark, right? So the scars are not going to look perfect. And I'm going to overlay myself right now. I'm just setting my powder, so I'm not going to be doing anything crazy here. Your scars are dark during, when you're recovering from your arm lift. So if you look at my scars, one of my arms healed better than my other arm. And the reason for that is I'm right-handed. So my left hand, I use more often. I also tend to sleep over on that side. So, and just overall, like whenever I'm doing anything, I'm using my left hand. So my right hand, So my right hand, the scar is pretty thin. there's still a little bit of darkness to it, but it's pretty thin. Whereas the left, my right hand, the scar is darker and thicker. So you see it's like a wider scar. All of that over time can lessen. There's also like micro needling and things you can do to lessen the scar. But for me personally, I don't think I want to opt to do that. Just because although it does look dark, I've noticed consistently that it has improved. So I would personally just rather let it just do what it does on its own over the next year. And then if by the time I get to the point where it's been a full year and it still looks the way it does, I'm fine with that. Like, I was actually never expecting a perfect scar. I could do better at using the scar tape because I am not like great at remembering to wear it anymore. So there are things that I can do. But my thing with that is at first I was posting updates, and I think YouTube is a great place for that because y'all, this is my fam, right? YouTube, I don't get a lot of random people coming to my YouTube to comment just because like I feel like it's just a different vibe over here. Instagram is mean. Instagram is mean. Instagram is where you really get a lot of people who don't actually know you and just kind of fell into your content somehow. And because of that, whenever I posted arm lift related content on Instagram specifically, I get a lot of messages from people who are just being mean about the way that my scars look. And I just got tired of seeing it. And that was also during the time where I was already tired of the negative comments. So I just kind of stopped posting updates on my arms. But of course I wanted to come and make sure I give an update here because I know you guys are not like that. And you guys are also like more understanding of how this type of stuff works. Like, you know, scars take time to heal. People on Instagram, I like to think that they know too, but they just have fun being mean to people. So I just decided that I'm like, I do not want to share this with Instagram knowing how they act. But y'all, I'll share with you. I can share with YouTube. But yeah, outside of the scars are still healing. Like I said, as far as when I say still healing, I'm talking about the appearance of them. Like, they still are healing, like, aesthetic wise. As far as like pain or anything like that, like, oh, that's all gone. Like, it doesn't even feel like anything happened. Every now and then I'll feel like I'm like random like tingling or something like that. But all that is, and I talked to my surgeon about that. She said because like it takes a year to like fully be healed. So that tingling that I feel sometimes, all that is just like the nerve endings still reconnecting, but it's not something that's painful. It's just something that I notice from time to time. So I asked her about it just to make sure that it was normal. And it is. But healing is going great. No complications. Everything's smooth so far. Just waiting for the scars themselves to actually like lighten up a little bit. And there was multiple points in time where I actually was like, you know what? I want to get back to filming. There was one point in time in particular where like I was like really motivated. Like, I had like a whole, this update video that I'm doing right now, like I'm going from my notes. These notes I wrote a little while ago, like back in September, that I planned on filming this. But and I'm like pausing just because like I'm just nervous to talk about it. But around the time when I had planned on filming this video, I found out that I was pregnant. And it was something that was welcomed with open arms, but not something that was planned. And when they say like, you know, after surgery, you can get increased fertility, like, it's true. It's true, because it was definitely not something that was planned at all, like at all. But when we found out, we were happy and excited and like told immediate family. Ryan knew. We were definitely excited and ready to embark on that journey. And then that made me pause from filming too, because I'm just like, oh my God, like there's this like huge thing that I can't share yet, but like I wanted to. And then also the fact that like I was really sick. Not sick as in like actually sick, but I couldn't eat. Like I was like my food aversions was actually insane. Everything made me feel sick except for really unhealthy food. So like I had like my main craving was like chicken tenders. Chicken tenders with barbecue sauce and honey mustard, and that's all I wanted to eat. Everything else made me gag. Like that's how I was feeling. So it was like, okay, my content is mostly what I eat in a day videos. At that time, I got really excited about making videos again, but then I was pregnant and food made me nauseous. All food except for chicken tenders. So it was like, how am I going to film a what I eat in a day when I'm literally just eating chicken tenders every single day and everything else makes me want to puke? So that was my dilemma. But then I was like, oh, it's fine. I just won't make videos until I get to a place like in the second trimester when I can share more about what's going on, or my food aversions stop and then I'm able to start eating normal food. So that's what was going on that made me be like, you know what, I'm just going to take a pause from filming a lot of content within my first trimester because I was very, very sick. I keep saying sick. I wasn't sick. I just had very extreme food aversions to where all food was gross to me except for unhealthy food. So I didn't know how to go about filming what I eat in a day and gagging the entire time because the food was disgusting to me. It also would have been a complete lie because that would have not been what I was eating in a day. And I'm not that type of girl. Like I'm going to show you the real of what I really am doing. So I didn't want to get on here and pretend. So I just said, I'm going to stop. However, and this was something that happened more recently, I miscarried. And that was traumatic, and like I'm trying to figure out how to get my words together here. It was confusing for me because this was not something that I was planning for. I even can acknowledge that when I found out that I was pregnant, I did not necessarily know how I felt about it because while I was happy, I love my husband, I love our daughter that we already have, I love our life together, and I thought, you know, we have more love to give, right? But we had decided a long time ago that we were done having kids. So finding out you're pregnant again when you're not trying to get pregnant again, that was a lot. But I had started to build myself to the point where I was excited, although I felt like this wasn't the right time. So then when I found out that I was miscarrying, it was like such conflicting emotions because on one hand, I was devastated. My body was going through a lot of physical trauma as a result of it. But also my brain was just so conflicted because on one hand, I'm like, this is horrible. Like Ryan knew about it. Like I didn't want to disappoint her. I also like was excited myself. Like I was already starting to plan things out in my head. And then, but on the flip side, I was like, well, we really were not trying to grow our family. This was really a bad time. Also to mention, around the time when I found out that I was miscarrying, I was getting ready to start a new job. And we'll get into that in a second. I literally was in an interview the day after I found out that something was wrong, right? So it was just, the timing of it was just horrible. Like to be honest, the day I was in the hospital, the doctor's office, finding out that something was not right, I was supposed to have my first interview for that job that day, right? It was supposed to be that day, while I was literally finding out devastating news. The manager for this role texted me while I was literally in the waiting room of that doctor's office and told me that they needed to reschedule my interview. And immediately I'm like, yes, perfect. Because I knew mentally I was not in a place where I could interview for anything. They moved it to the next day. Still wasn't mentally like in a place to handle anything. But of course I was able to gather myself better. And even at that point, I was still not given an answer. And I don't want to trigger anybody, so I don't want to get into too much about what exactly caused it. But it was something that dragged out over the course of about 2 weeks of me not knowing what's going on, and then everything happening, and it was a lot to handle while simultaneously trying to make moves and trying to move on with life like something horrible isn't happening to you, basically, is what was going on. So after everything happened with that, it was still really difficult to film because my brain was just scrambled and fried. And then on top of that, the fact that for the past 2 months or so, I was not eating well, of course, more weight gain is going to happen. So in that time, and while at first when I gained weight because of the arm lift, I was just like, you know what, I had an arm lift, it's fine, I'll lose the weight back after when I get back in the gym. Then after I start to heal from the arm lift, finding out that I was pregnant, I was eating poorly, but then chalking it up to like, I'm pregnant. When I'm not pregnant anymore, I'll get back to it. But then not being pregnant is just like, whoa, like I kind of lost control of myself there. But then it was hard to get a to get a handle on things because I was grieving. I was grieving while still trying to like force myself to jump back into my life while still feeling like I'm being held back. Like for lack of better words, I have just not been in a great place. Like I've just not been in a great place, and I can't show up for myself in my real life and then also like put myself in front of a camera and just pretend. And that was part of the reason that I decided to go back to work, was because I realized I'm grateful for the platform I have here online and the fact that I am able to do it as a job, right? That is a blessing that I will never take for granted. But obviously, if you are not creating content, you're not going to get paid. Like that's not, like the job doesn't work unless you're working. Like I know that now anyway. And for me, I'm someone that when I'm struggling with something mentally, I am not a push through and act like nothing is happening type of person. I'm either going to be honest about it or I'm going to climb into a shell like a turtle. And sometimes it's necessary for me to climb into a shell like a turtle and not put myself in front of the internet when I know that I do not have the capacity to show up in that way. I knew that I needed to be able to show up when I was fully ready to be able to show up authentically and show up like for real. Which I do feel like I am now, but for the past few months, like I was a shell of myself. Like I was just like, there was just too many things just in my head. Not to like, you know, add to it like everything that's going on with that happened with the election and like worries about like what's to come, and then having a miscarriage, and then dealing with my body dysmorphia, recovering from surgery. Like there was just so much going on that I just needed to press pause on life in that moment, and I did, and I'm glad that I did. So yeah, before I had even found out that I was pregnant, I started applying to jobs, same field. As you guys know, I'm a recruiter. So I was able to secure a role. And I'm really happy with how that's working. One of the things I love about that job is the flexibility of it allows me to continue to do what I do here while I do my job. And that's what I have always loved about being a recruiter. It's flexible. But on top of it being flexible, it is a consistent paycheck, which gives me the ability to turn off the internet if I need to, and to make sure that I'm not having to force myself to get in front of the camera unless like I fully feel like I need to, because I'm not depending on social media for income. I have income from my job, and then I can make additional income online or not, or just come and talk to the community that I have built here and not have to feel the pressure of like, I have to do this so I can make money, but instead feeling like I want to do this So I'm gonna do this. If you understand what I'm saying? Does this make sense? Like, I hope I'm not rambling too bad. Continuing with my list of things for the update, I think this is a good segue into the fact that due to everything that has been going on, I do very much want to lose weight. However, I want to handle it in a different way. Like, this dried so. I want to handle it in a different way than the way that I have handled it in the past. And that's pretty much just like, I don't want to put extreme pressure on myself to be as skinny as possible. I don't want to put extreme pressure on myself to, like, you have to be in the gym 5 days a week and you have to do this and you have to do this. I want to just really focus on ways to build sustainable life habits that lead to weight loss that will continue to work regardless of what's going on in life. And a lot of people, because like I said, I was still pretty active on Instagram. I've mentioned the weight gain there, and people have asked me like, oh, are you gonna take GLP-1s, Ozempic, all that stuff? And while like I'm not against it, just because I feel like there's a place for that, but for me, I don't want to take any weight loss medication because I already did have VSG. Like, I feel like I want to just stick to the tool that I have. My sleeve is not broken. My mentality is broken, but my sleeve is not broken, and it can still do what I need it to do. I just need to get in the right habits. So something that I wrote down is that now that I'm over 2 years out, like I'm closer to 3 years now than I am to 2 years, I can certainly eat more. Like, by no means is it a normal portion of food. Like, it's not anywhere close to what I used to eat when I was at my original weight. But I would consider it to be like a normal person's serving who doesn't overeat. So my plan for that, and what you'll see when I resume my what I eat in a day videos, is my goal for that is if I want to honor my body's hunger cues. So if my body is saying that like you can eat more now, I think that's an amazing thing, because the thing about eating tiny portions forever is it messes up your metabolism. So the moment you go back to starting to eat anything that resembles normal portions, you gain weight, and I want to avoid that. The way I want to help with that is by volume eating. So I made things like spaghetti squash, right? Because you can eat a lot of it and fill up space in your stomach, but it doesn't have a lot of calories or carbs or fat or anything like that. Cabbage is another good thing to add to food to give it volume. Salads, give it volume. So you're eating a lot of food, but you're consuming a little bit of calories. That's the type of eating that I want to focus on. I don't want to be like, okay, my body, because I have a sleeve, I have to eat the tiny portions. I don't. I just still want to stay within a caloric deficit. So volume eating has been my goal. But even with that, of course, there are days where I don't follow that rule. Like days when like me and Chad love to go out to eat at restaurants and sometimes order food or something like that. And it's not always perfect. I'm trying to really grasp like the 80-20 rule of eating. So 80% of the time doing what I said, eating in the caloric deficit, making sure that I am giving my food volume, but keeping it low in calorie is really my goal 80% of the time. The other 20% of the time, allowing myself to be normal. Because I do believe that, I do genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that completely depriving yourself of the things that you enjoy, because food is still something that I very much do love. I still consider myself a foodie. Funny enough, like it's kind of strange to me that when I was pregnant, I was craving things like chicken tenders because I don't genuinely like fried food. So thankfully, like I have gone back to that normal part of myself of not craving fried food. So when I say enjoy what I enjoy, like for the most part, it tends to be sort of healthier anyway. But 80% of but I also do love oatmeal chocolate chip cookie with walnuts. And I will still have them from time to time, 20% of the time. 80% of the time, sticking to my goals and trying to be more intentional about that. Because before, like as the weight was starting to pack on, I feel like I was doing moderation, but the moderation wasn't moderating. Like I feel like I was not actually sticking to it 80% of the time. It was more like a 50-50 split. And what I've learned about my body is I cannot do 50-50 when it comes to healthy eating and clean eating. Like, I have to feed myself more healthy foods. I have to be more conscious of my carbs. As much as like I love to be of the philosophy that carbs aren't the thing, like, you live and you learn with a lot of things. And I've just learned that my body, just because of my PCOS, I have to be careful with carbs. That's not to say not to have them, but there's a way to go about having them. My personal way is I like to have carbs for lunch. That way I still give my body time to burn them off as energy. And I like to avoid having them for breakfast. So for breakfast, I like to do like eggs. Like, I've been doing 1 egg and one serving of egg whites with turkey bacon and strawberries. And if I don't eat that, I have a yogurt parfait with protein yogurt. And that's pretty much the only 2 things I eat for breakfast ever. Like, I just rotate between those 2 things because they're safe. I know that they work for my body. And what I don't want to do because of my PCOS is spike my insulin first thing in the morning, which is what carbs would do. So I've learned that about my body. And I think it's important to just really get into figuring your body out and figuring out what your individual body needs, because we all need different things. So for me and my body, I do best when I don't have carbs for breakfast. For lunch, I like to have carbs because they give me energy, and I can use that energy to power me through the day because I'm a sleepy girl. I get very tired, and I noticed that having a lunch that has the carbs, that helps me like have energy for the rest of the day. And then for my dinner, I like it to be higher in protein with some sort of like complex carb in there, but protein is the bigger thing, if that makes sense. So it's very much limiting carbs, not cutting them out, and very much just volume eating and paying attention to my body and what it needs. I've also started to cut out supplemental protein, whether that be the shakes, the bars, any of that. And I have noticed dramatically since I started doing that, my bloating is almost non-existent at this point. Like, my stomach is a lot flatter. Even though I'm bigger, my stomach, even after I eat, like, there was a point in time, and I had showed this, that like after I ate anything, I would get extreme bloating. And that doesn't happen anymore ever since I cut out supplemental protein. So I think something about that, like, I'm talking like protein shakes, but also I used to eat a lot of like Bear Bells and like those type of things. I cut all of that out, and my gut thanks me for it because I can tell, because the bloating is gone. And in this whole journey to figuring out like what I want to be doing, I don't want to put a goal weight on myself, because I feel like that's another thing that leads me to failure, because I get so focused on reaching a specific goal weight that I'll just like beat myself up every time I get on the scale and it's not going down. I don't have a goal weight. I have a goal life. Right? So I want to live a life where I get up and I make breakfast, and I make a high protein, nutrient rich breakfast in the morning. Then I either go to work or work from home, or it's the weekend or whatever it is. But I get outside and I walk, just walking. I want to then have like a nutrient rich lunch. Like, I want to really be caring about the things that I put into my body, and not necessarily eating because I want to like undereat, like thinking about eating like little bits of food throughout the day. Like, I want to eat food that nourishes my body. And then I want to work out. Oh, I forgot to mention, you guys, I'm building a gym in my basement. I have a treadmill down there that I'm going to show you in another video. And I want to like really like get that space real comfortable, because especially since I work again, and in general, like sometimes, especially as a mom too, it's really difficult for me to get to the gym, but I want to build it into my routine to where after I put Ryan to bed, I can go downstairs and just get a really good workout in. It doesn't have to be super intense. It could really just be like, doing like a YouTube workout or like an Apple Fitness workout and getting on the treadmill. But I want that to be a part of my routine. And then having just a really good dinner, unwinding with like some peppermint tea or something like that's really good for gut health. And just living a life with intention and really caring about being healthier, spending more time with my family, and just like really pouring into myself. Also, where I'm able to come online and be creative and really like create content that I love to create. And having a job also makes me feel like I'm not forced to create content, so I can really just fall in love with it again. Like, that's really where I want to be. Like, I want to be at a place where I'm just loving everything that I'm doing and living my life intentionally. I don't think a lot of people realize, but I started my YouTube channel because I'm a creative. And I feel like I haven't felt inspired in a while, and I'm starting to feel that build up again now. So I really just want my dream life, I want to really be just like creatively creating content for you guys, but also to feed myself. As a creative, creating things really just feeds me in a way that I haven't had in a while since I haven't been creating content. So I'm excited to get back to that. But yeah, no goal weight. I just have a vision in my life for how I want my life to be going. My goal life, my dream life. Well, actually, it's the life that I have now, but just being more intentional about it. And then the weight will come off as a result of living in this way, if that makes sense. Like, not focusing on a number, but just focusing on living a certain lifestyle, and the weight loss will be a consequence of the changes that I'm making in my life. But yeah, I'm done now. I need to set my face, but I hope you guys enjoy this little update. I'm very excited to get back to creating content. Like, I really am very excited about that. So I hope you guys aren't too mad at me for taking the time away, but trust me, I needed it. And I will be back to creating content. My next video will be on what I eat in a day. Let me know below if there's anything specific you want to see. And until next time, I will see you in my next video.
So casually keep diving into